Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, wrong once again. No decision yet rendered on Deshaun Watson. I really thought we would have that today. Did you too, Derek?
Yeah, I almost thought it was going to be yesterday, to be honest with you. I thought they would want to get it in before this Friday weekend, but nevertheless, tick-tock.
Yeah, we wait. Plenty to talk about, though. And if you're looking at the title of the program, you're going to know that for every time, I would say for every 3 or 4 times I'm wrong, I'm right once. But the Anthony Schwartz thing is growing so old so quickly. And at what point does the person who drafted him, who's responsible for what was considered an abysmal reach a couple of years ago when the draft was being analyzed? I mean, it isn't just my opinion that I'm getting down on Anthony Schwartz. This is something that from the moment he was drafted, people said this was an absolute reach.
Yeah, me and you both. Remember that show after? It was, What Are We Doing?
Hey, Brett, how you doing?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Good. And you know, it's turning out no different than what I suspected would be the case. He's got a track and field body. He runs track and field times. He runs in a straight line. He exhibited fear going over the middle in his rookie year. He is not a physical guy, so he's not going to block downfield. And in a non-contact drill, Brett, non-contact, he simply, and in a practice that was not even full speed, all right, by the coach's own designation today was the first day they started ramping up the tempo. He just ran a nothing pattern and grabbed his knee and went to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, they have said, and I will tell you what Kevin Stefanski says, but the more I hear Kevin Stefanski, the more I keep thinking about Bill Belichick, and I'm getting sick to my stomach. Injury update, according to, and we're going to talk about, we're going to merge this into talking about Stefanski, because I do have my concerns. Schwartz is day-to-day with a knee strain. We will see how that goes over the next couple of days. I think he will be okay, certainly long-term. What the hell does that mean?
You got to string a bunch of short terms together first.
Yeah.
And they can't even do that.
But it's like, all right, but he'll continue on. They asked him if the Browns dodged a bullet because Schwartz's injury was non-contact. The reason I said I was wrong, I guessed either a torn meniscus or an ACL, because usually non-contact football knee injuries happen during the cutting process, and that usually would involve the menisci, either the medial or the lateral side, or what's holding the whole thing together, the ACL. So based on the medical team's feedback, this is what Kevin Stefanski said. They did not say that. And it happened right in front of me, so you're always nervous when it's no contact. But they did not use those terms, dodging a bullet. But certainly we're hopeful long-term. There's that expression again. On if Schwartz is expected to be ready for the start of the season. Quote, Stefanski, he'll be ready for the season, yes, day to day.
Yep, exactly.
Ready for what? To be like fifth string?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, Moo, how many times have we talked about this? And you just mentioned it again. You got a guy who is a twig. He's bulked up a little bit, yes, but he's not a football body. And when you're running at those speeds that he can hit and you're trying to cut like that, like the guy at this point, and we went back and forth on Twitter, and I see some of my people that follow me were hashing it out with you on this as well. I don't understand the fan base's thoughts on Schwartz, but it's like you got a guy who's not a good route runner. He cannot catch. He's injury prone. And now, again, here comes the non-contact injuries. And again, day to day, sure, that's awesome. But guess what? If you're getting hurt on non-contact injuries in a walkthrough, which is what it was, I mean, what are you going to be? Let's be honest. I think this is the point of a lot of the topics today is we can't waste spots on wide receivers who aren't going to be there and aren't good. I don't care if he was a 3rd-round pick. He was a wasted pick.
And so it would seem Keith Smith is pointing out that when Derek and I first came on the air today, there was the tail end of a conversation that we must have been having in StreamYard in the background. Sounded like a building the Browns thing. I don't know what that would have been. I mean, we were talking about our sex lives. And that's why it was such a brief conversation, you know.
Not a lot to add to that one.
We both have our own excuses, don't we?
I wonder if you had anything playing in the background or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible too. I don't know. Unless I really should check this because what she's saying there might be some merit to this through the routing of this. No, there shouldn't have been any background noise on this. Not exactly sure what happened, but
first came on the air. There was tail end of a conversation. Must have been having sounded like a building the Browns thing. We weren't even talking about.
No, that's the thing. I'll tell you. Maybe it was in the background of your laptop key. Either that, or you need to up the dosage on the mood stabilizers. I'm kidding. We love all of our viewers. So there's more to this than just the Anthony Schwartz thing. Then they follow up. Will the Browns look to add help at wide receiver following Schwartz's injury? Or if it is too early for that to be necessary? Stefanski.
Never too early.
I would say it's too
early
late for
really.
that.
Should have been done.
Yeah. The guys who drafted him said it's too early for that. Next year, we'll finally admit that we screwed up. On the performance of young Brown wide receivers, including wide receiver Michael Woods II, I think they're all doing a good job, generically speaking. This is a generic answer and has been pre-programmed into my chipset, he said. Basically, if you ask me this question, I will spit out this nonsense to you nonstop because that's what the Browns pay me to be, an automaton. But then he mentioned Michael Woods. He was out for a good portion of the offseason program, so it's good to see him out there finally. We got to see him late in the offseason program, so he's somebody who I'm excited to see what he has over the course of the next few weeks. I think that all of the young guys are learning a lot. They're working very hard. You will see today that we have 2 7-on-7 periods. Did we start getting a cheering squad? Oh, not those kind of periods. I'm sorry.
Gosh.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood that. You see, they have to be clear. I was going to say, you know the kind of trouble that Stefanski could get into for saying something like that?
Jeez.
Heavens to Betsy. Do they still say, heavens to Betsy? Oh, there's Jim Hammer trying to get in. Hey, Hammer time. What's up?
I was going to go heavens to Murgatroyd, but,
Yeah,
there we go.
Murgatroyd is old.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Yeah, that was Who was the character? He was some kind of a cat, jungle
What?
cat.
That was it was the same people that did Huckleberry Hound and
Yeah.
those Jay Ward characters.
Was
yeah.
it Sylvester?
No, it's maybe Sylvester did. Yeah, Sylvester did some Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Yeah. I don't even know what it meant.
I saw your topic earlier today. I was like, oh yeah, I got to be on this one.
Yeah, this is a no miss.
It's-
You'll see today we'll have 2 7-on-7 periods, so we'll really be pass game heavy in that regard. You will see some competitive periods with the offense and the defense. It's weird kind of competition.
Well, when they do that, the practices, they have those, it goes for 10 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever. There's like 20 periods in a workout or whatever. It's,
It's
So-
basically just like I totally forgot the word. It's basically just drills. It's just all right, period, aka drill, time
Okay, because there's certainly
to
more periods going on in the sidelines in Dallas during games, but I'll drop it, okay?
Oh
I'll
my
I'll just drop the whole thing. I didn't say anything. I'll be a good boy. I really will.
Somewhere there's a sanitary pad joke in there, but I'm
Yes, there is. Yeah, there is. Here we go. Then they switch over. How would you characterize linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as a person? Now listen to this answer. Jeremiah is very thoughtful, very intelligent, very enthusiastic and energetic about his teammates and about life, and he's a deep thinker. I enjoy being around him. I think he obviously has a bright future in this league, but I think he is just a great person to spend your days with. Then the next follow-up question. On Owusu-Koramoah acknowledging earlier in the day that some mistakes turned into highlights last year for him, and if he would be okay with those again.
some
And then-
mistakes turned into highlights.
That's what, yeah, obviously Koramoah wasn't where he was supposed to be, which is why the ball ended up there and why he ended up there. So,
What the hell?
yeah, well, I mean,
I've
that's-
never heard a coach say that before.
No, this Koramoah said it in an interview earlier.
Okay. That's different. I thought you were saying Stefanski was saying that.
No, but so Stefanski's response was, it's like, are you okay with, with those types of things again? He goes, as long as you make them 100 miles an hour, right? He has done a nice job. He is a player who plays sometimes at a frenetic pace. And I think with linebackers coach Jason Tarver, run game coordinator Ben Bloom, Joe Woods, that we've tried to make him understand that you can make plays within the framework of the defense, and every once in a while, he will make those extraordinary plays.
Well, he's a weapon. They can't really limit him to specific.
Oh, sure they can. They can
Assignments.
coach him right out of it. You bet.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
Analytics
saying.
crap.
They shouldn't do that, but
Mhm.
that's why he was so effective last year. Like go
Your players
know it's-
play.
Yeah, I
That
know
and
it's
the deep thinking.
preseason. I know it's preseason, but remember that Jaguars game last year, the first time we ever saw him on the field?
Oh,
and
yeah.
he just was destroying everybody, is because it was see ball, get ball. That's the way defense is meant to be played. That's what he
Yeah.
needs to do.
What you
also
have to-
because those guys were playing in the whatever the heck XFL, USFL this past spring.
Well, that's too, but he's much more superbly talented, as far as athleticism. So
Wow. Key comes out and brings it with full force. Anyone that uses the word frenetic was never late in high school. Wow. They're a woman of my heart. It's great. When the viewers catch on to the vulgarity of the program, it makes me feel like I am finally nowhere. But here's the next comment. Why all the follow-up questions about Koramoah when Koramoah was probably one of the few real bright signs on the defense? on if Stefanski and Koromoa have spent time talking about balancing life and football, given Koromoa have both individually commented about the importance of it. And Stefanski said, Jeremiah and I, a little bit. We've talked about the trips that he takes. He has a lot of interest outside of football. That doesn't mean he doesn't love football. He loves football. He just loves some other things too. And that's okay. I think we can do all of that with his trips to Africa. Those are really important to him. Those are really important to who he is. So I encourage him in that regard.
Well,
Now-
remember his brother died too. I mean, there's that part as well.
Yeah, the thing that's funny about it is
Other than it sounds like an OkCupid profile.
yeah. What I'll tell you what's weird about it. It reminds me of a line from North Dallas 40, the movie, when the coach BA. There's a big difference. I'm going to get to do that voice, and I love that voice. My God. There's a big difference between playing the game and seeing through the game, Phil. Oh, Phil Elliott, Nick Nolte. Yeah. Nobody knows more than this computer. Nobody in this room knows more than this computer. Yeah. So I got this vibe. It's like, why can't he be great at football? And why is it like balancing life and football? And I get this feeling that it's Coach BA saying, you have no life. This is your life. I mean, that was the whole thrust of North Dallas 40, the movie, in essence, is that you just sold your body, you sold your soul, your conscience, and everything to the game.
Health.
Yeah, everything. And and why would it be a problem? And why is that balancing life and football? I hate to be the one who tells Stefanski this. Life isn't football, and football isn't life. Life, well, maybe it is if you only live to an average 57 years of age when you play the game. Maybe it is most of your life. But it shouldn't be that way any more than work is not life. And I just thought that those were very odd comments and makes me a little uneasy about the whole thing. But then he was talking about Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I want you to listen to what he said about him. And this goes back to the conversation, should we be looking for receivers? It's a broken record when you're talking about Donovan. He makes plays when the ball comes his way. He is very dependable. You could see him taking strides from his rookie year to his second year. I still think you see those strides. I think he still works very hard on the physical aspect of this. He's diligent about his body. As we all know, he's very intelligent. Then it becomes a rapport between him and the quarterbacks, and I think they're doing a nice job in that regard as well. Now, all right. He makes plays when the ball comes his way. He's dependable. He's taking strides. But he failed as being a number one or number two receiver last year. He failed because of injuries or us getting rid of players. He failed at that. And I'm not getting down on Donovan Peoples-Jones, but what I'm saying is when the coach describes his starting receiver, who is likely to be the number two guy, because David Bell, who's injured at this point, and the suspicion is that he has a stress fracture in his foot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was there any sort of update today?
No, but that's what the belief is that it's a stress fracture. And the thing about a stress fracture is you cannot do anything for weeks.
Not even ride that bike.
you can't do squat because that is, it's one of those.
It's one of those season killer ones that you might be able to come back halfway through the year if everything works out good, kind of thing. But then you're susceptible to having it happen again.
Yep.
Yeah, and the thing that scares me about it all is that you can't rush him back. But so assuming that it's a stress fracture and he's not going to get any reps in during camp to speak of, don't you think we need a wide receiver? I mean, do you think that anybody in the organization is burning the midnight oil and looking ahead and saying, we're hoping that a $230 million quarterback is going to play some games this year? We're hoping that that's the case. But more likely than not, it's going to be a career sub 500 quarterback. And I could see Haslam sitting in a room with his Yahoo Tennessee buddies. And the conversation would go something like this. Woo! Well, we'll see exactly what Jacoby does when none of his receivers get open. Woo! Woo! I mean, wouldn't that be more of a reason to get receivers? I mean, if you sit back and you say, okay, Watson is a great quarterback and he will make average receivers look better because he's always on the mark. He can throw the ball anywhere on the field. And then you have Jacoby Brissett, who cannot throw a deep ball to save his soul, and the field's going to be compacted. Don't you think you're going to need somebody to help him out? Because if the guys are out there, can you imagine if the guys who were drafted in the 6th round, like Michael Woods or those guys, are actually on the field?
Well,
Jacoby Brissett's going to be running for his life.
Well, here's the problem that you run into is look where we're at now in the offseason. Unless somebody gets cut, you don't really have a ton of options. I mean, they could trade for a guy like a Scotty Miller from the Bucs, who'd be a good slot receiver now that they got Julio, but you're going to have to give up assets. I mean, I like Sterling Shepard. That's a name that gets thrown around a lot as a guy to bring into the room.
I like Sybil Shepard.
I mean, as far as free agency, okay, what? OBJ's out there? Well, guess what? He's not going to play till, December? Something like that. So you've limited yourself as far as options go now because you've bet so heavily on, some of the other positions that you brought in. They have still yet to really address that wide receiver spot. Yeah, bringing in Michael Woods and I really like some of those guys that they brought in, but those aren't people you should count on to be starters. David Bell could be a starter, but now that he's hurt, you got to replace that. Anthony Schwartz sucks, and he's hurt. You can't count on him. Felton, I think he's got upside, but is Felton going to make the team? Probably not. So, I mean, you have to replace something.
You bring him up. Demetric Felton is lining up strictly as a receiver.
Yeah, that's really his only chance of making the team, though. Really, don't you think, Derek? I mean, the running back room is extraordinarily filled. That's one of your assets you have, really, is running backs. But nobody trades anything for a running back. You're lucky if you get a 3rd-round pick. So
unless they wanted to package a Dearness Johnson with somebody like a Greedy Williams and maybe like a 5th or 6th round pick. And get a number 2, number 3 receiver on an expiring deal. That's the only thing I could really see happening.
They got cap room. I mean,
yeah, 40 mil.
But I was reading about the cap space too, and if ever anything was misleading, that would be it.
Yeah, they're under the cap 40 mil this year. Next year, they're already committed over the cap,
23 million.
20,
yeah,
23 million.
So
it's got to roll over.
It's that it's trying to go all in on this year, hoping you get Watson available. But now you have no one for him to go to outside of Cooper. Where are you going to go? I mean, Jones is going to catch some, but even when Schwartz was healthy, I'm sorry. I just was not impressed at all with his route running, and you know, you can't catch a ball. So what good are you?
Well, Hammer, another thing I thought of. Look at what we did in the tight end room this offseason. Tell me what we did. We did little to nothing. I mean, we're rolling with David Njoku and
We thinned the
Bryant.
herd a little, even really.
Yeah, and now it's like, okay, you got your receivers getting hurt, and the tight end market's now going off. I mean, Ebron's really the only one left if you wanted to bring him in, but Kyle Rudolph, who has familiar, ties with Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota, he's now on the Bucs. So unless you're going to trade for somebody, the options are thin. What are you going to do?
Oh, before I forget, J.C. Treader is now a Tampa Bay Buck.
Did he just sign?
Yeah, he's the deal is being done as we speak, and that's because Jensen went down, and he ain't going to be ready to play for months and months and months. And like we were saying the other day, good things deserve to happen to good people. J.C. Treader is a hard-working guy, and I think that that's going to help them out tremendously because. The way that Jensen graded out last year, it's going to be very difficult to find somebody to just step right in. Stefanski was also talking about Chris Hubbard. To be honest with you, they asked him about Hubbard's bad luck with sustaining tough injuries in recent seasons. Quote, "I do not know about the luck part. But I will tell you, he has a great attitude, an unbelievable attitude. He's somebody who, when he is in the building, he lifts everybody up. I know he's had some injuries that are disappointing to him and to us, but it is not keeping him down. He is coming back, and he's ready to roll for a week or two." I mean...
I think you summed it up right there. He is going to be a serious asset to this team for at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. The only, it was like, "I shall return." That was MacArthur, Chris Hubbard is, "I'm on knee." Okay. I mean, no. I wouldn't be waiting for Chris Hubbard to bail my tush out as a backup offensive lineman, because we keep doing that every year, and the same thing keeps happening. And he goes, "I don't know about whether it's luck or not." It's like, it isn't. His body is eroded. He's played football too long, Stefanski. It's not bad luck. It's predictable at this point. Just like the Schwartz thing, it's going to just become so apparent. The first time he runs down the middle and he gets popped by a free safety, he's just going to get carried out of the game with a concussion. I can guarantee you that this is going to happen. And when it happens, I will be really obnoxious.
You'd be saying, "Use the Schwartz."
May the Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartz be with you. He'd go great with Josh Rosen, don't you? Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for that.
That was
How'd you like that callback from last week?
Talk about making me look dumb. Did you see that clip in practice?
What?
Rosen, they were doing quarterback drills, and it was obviously all the quarterbacks, and Watson finished up with his, and Rosen came in, and the very first throw was probably 2 feet over his head.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, hopefully don't play.
Well, what's really weird? Part of the setup when you throw the mechanics of being a quarterback, they want you to do things that don't slow you down. Like we talked about this a number of months ago about Tim Tebow and his left-handed delivery and how he would wind up kind of, and that wind up added tenths of a second to his release time. Yeah, and that's why he couldn't get rid of the ball quickly. And what they teach you is to get that ball when you're fading back, the ball's already up here. so that it becomes a snapping motion. And the problem for Rosen is he's only handling the ball, if you notice, with one hand, because the other hand, he has his iPhone for the GPS to figure out where in the hell his receivers are. It was a long way to go for that. I know, folks. I'm sorry. I apologize. But the fact is that, you know, it's like people following, you know, Baker Mayfield. It's like, did you see Howard Cosell? It's the battle of the Panther quarterbacks. I'm Howard Cosell. And look at that. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Like, your television's just turning off, you know? It's like, why are we interested in that?
I feel bad for McCaffrey, wasting his career.
Sam Darnold looks like Herman Munster's senior graduation picture. I mean, honestly, what's the story with him? Too much fucking forehead. Way too much fucking forehead on that guy. And if it were brain in there, it would be one thing, but that does not appear to be the case. But, you know, the thing that's amazing is that everyone to a man says that he's a really great guy, Darnold, and that there are people in the organization who really want him to be the guy.
They're paying him to be the guy.
Well, that's part of it. But they got two guys, and the other one's not very likable. But he's a better quarterback. All right. So that's what you have. But these Browns fans who were scrutinizing, oh, the first day of Panthers practice, he threw a pick on his first throw. He underthrew, and you know, the cornerback intercepted the ball. And then the next day, he threw 5 touchdown passes. That's the Baker we know. That's right. Inconsistent. You know, he woke up.
There you go.
He woke up feeling really dangerous for the practice. Okay. Leave me alone with it. I mean, I'm not a Panther fan, nor am I against the Panthers. But if it's a sheer, all-out, even competition between Darnold and Mayfield, if Mayfield can't win that, what they should do is force him to live with Freddie Kitchens for the rest of his life.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say he can start selling insurance for Progressive.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Freddie. I had a minor nightmare the other day. They showed a clip of, or not a clip, a picture of Rosen, which, by the way, should not be wearing 19. Fuck you for wearing 19. Second of all,
yeah, what's up with that? Well, that's not retired or anything.
I don't know.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
It wasn't there was a wide receiver too, wasn't it?
It was Corey Coleman.
Well, I thought somebody else did too in between. There's been a couple people wearing 19.
Natson?
But I wonder if Bernie forgot.
Yeah, JoJo
that he wore
Natson.
19.
That's it, Derek. JoJo Natson.
Coleman wore it too. But anyway,
Yeah.
so the picture Rosen, right, in the background, it was AVP. And when I tell you I thought Freddie Kitchens was back, I totally forgot about AVP. And I was like, what? What's going on here, buddy?
And if you're Demetric Felton and the coach says this about you, you guys have heard me talk about Demetric. He's a very versatile football player. He's a football player first and foremost. See, he doesn't go to Africa. He's a football player first and foremost. Okay?
Oh my God.
No, I'm just. There is an opportunity right now for him to get some receiver reps. We can bounce him back into that running back room at any point. Really, he's smart enough where he can do both within a given practice. So when you do have injuries at either position, he's a bonus player that you can go into either room with, if you will. That's got cut written all over it.
Unfortunately for him, yeah.
I mean, it's, you know.
Even if they trade Dearness Johnson, there's no shot he's going to make it over Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
Ford's an actual running back.
And who actually can break tackles and such. And
yes.
and if he's doing slot, receiver, that David Bell will be back, and David Bell's third round pick, and he's going to be the one to get to play. It's not going to be
way
Demetric
better.
Felton.
It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean,
Bell has so much upside. I mean, literally being tall, but yes, there is. Yeah, I just can't stop that. But anyway, but yes, Bell does have a lot more upside. He can catch a ball. He can run a route. He's not, in line to play Napoleon in summer stock at Great Lakes Summer Stock Theater.
Yeah. Well,
all right, crickets.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you. Well, I heard a little bong.
Yeah,
noise.
It sounded like I don't know what that
I was hoping we didn't lose somebody. Yeah, but basically what he's saying about Demetric Felton, and I love to do this because he's what is he, a Penn guy? Is that where Stefanski went? University of Pennsylvania Ivy League guy.
Was either him or Barry went there. One of the two.
And I like to just speak common language. By saying, really, he's smart enough where he can do both within a given practice. So when you do have injuries at either position, he's a bonus player. What he is a Ginsu knife. Okay. And I think everybody can understand this if you ever watched late night television. It slices and it dices. It can peel an orange. It's a Ginsu knife. Now, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't do anything very well. And when you purchase it late night because you're either drunk, high, or lonely, you just give it back.
Or all three.
Yeah, right. You give the Ginsu knife back, you pay the shipping and handling, and you say, get it the fuck out of here. It didn't do anything well at all. Demetric Felton is going to be the Ginsu knife. He's going to be shipped away, and whatever they've paid him, and it's really too bad because he was trying hard, but the coach sees him as a Swiss Army knife. That's not the best thing. And finally, this great thing. On if wide receiver Jakeem Grant Sr. could serve a role on offense, given former Browns wide receiver JoJo Natson sustaining injuries on offense. Here's what Stefanski said. A different player with Jakeem and JoJo. Jakeem is an electric player. He's fast. What the fuck was JoJo?
Translation, JoJo, you suck.
He was some malnourished, slow guy from the University of Akron. That's what, we were trying to fool the fans into thinking he was the second coming of Joshua Cribbs,
He didn't even make the team last year, did JoJo? Or no, he got hurt. That's what it was, right? ACL or something.
He didn't make the roster from being hurt in preseason.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the difference between Jakeem and JoJo. Jakeem is an electric player. What about JoJo? Oh, no. Jakeem is fast. What about JoJo? And somebody we would love to use as we get into the regular season. Not JoJo. So JoJo is like say what? I mean, he's going someplace. And you know where he's going to wind up. He's going to wind up in Jacksonville.
Or the Rams might bring him back. I don't know if they have a returner.
Did you hear about the place kicker in Jacksonville?
Yeah, hitting Dave Campo.
That's got to be the funniest fucking thing I've heard in ages. That he's a guy trying to make the team. He's a guy they brought in to be a field goal kicker. Only the Jaguars, right?
Kicker or holder?
No, I did it wrong. I'm sorry. Con. Okay. Yeah, it's unreal. This guy, in his initial practice, shanked all 4 of his kicks. And one of them was shanked so bad, it hit former Cowboys coach Dave Campo in the shoulder while he was conducting an interview.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, how the fuck did that football get over here? You know,
What
They
was the
cut-
Browns kicker we brought in? Remember his last name was like you know who I'm talking about. His last name was like a play on words for like missing kicks. I forget. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. What a name for a kicker! I
Yeah.
said.
Shankopotamus? No.
No, I'll look it up. I'll see if I can
Shankopotamus.
find it.
He was Greek. Shankopotamus. No, I remember it was the guy who.
It's
it
like
was
Bob
the guy who
Walk
blew
when
it,
he was
who
a
played for
pitcher.
the
It's like
Bears.
I
the
got it.
bases are loaded. The bases are loaded. Nobody, 2 outs. Who are you going to bring in? Bob Walk. No, don't do that.
You know,
No.
Moo, I just found it. You know what his name was?
He played for the Bears, and he go ahead.
Chris Blewett.
Blew it. There you go.
Yep.
Blew it.
Wonder if it's
Yeah,
the same
I
guy.
mean, it's like a fait accompli. Yeah, it's unbelievable. JoJo Natson, and he's going to end up in Jacksonville. And the kicker, you want to talk about having to answer for yourself for the rest of your life. The guy was cut immediately after hitting Campo.
Oh.
They cut him. They pulled him off at the side of the field and said, "Get the fuck out of here.
Oh my
You're going to kill
gosh.
somebody with a football."
That poor kid.
I know.
Could be worse. At least he didn't get kicked by his coach.
Well, did you see the guy they brought back in to replace him? Is another one of those former Apollos from another Orlando Apollo. So what's his name, Fry or something like that? That's been sitting around doing nothing.
No, it's not that he's played for like 5 different
But he was like
teams.
he was
but
like
he's only
14 for 4.
attempted-
Yeah, he was 14 for 14 when he was in the whatever that league, all AAF or whatever it was.
Right. But
speaking of
he only
weird
tried
leagues,
like 4 kicks though. Only 4 kicks did he try in the NFL.
So speaking of weird leagues, did you see? Maybe there's a wide receiver here. The Major League Football folded after 1 week of practices.
Oh,
yeah. So there are some more players out there available. I don't know if any of them are gonna catch on with the Browns. Literally,
He hate me. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out for anybody. I'm seeing one of the great. And then this whole Amari Cooper thing. Jerry Jones, the guy who knocks women up and denies that they're his daughter, and Jerry Jones, the guy who I can't begin to say all the things that Jerry Jones has done. What an absolute Texas oil mongoloid. He basically wanted to get rid of Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper didn't vaccinate himself. And so he missed 2 games that Jerry Jones said if he was any kind of a teammate whatsoever, he would have taken the vaccine and put his team first rather than himself first. And for his part, Amari Cooper is not explaining why he didn't get vaccinated, but this is a guy who's played through every injury he's ever had and has been a real tough guy. And what a way to deal with your, they traded him for the 5th round pick and a swap of 6 rather than pay the $20 million salary, And what he did in his little conversation with the press is he lumped Cooper in with right tackle La'el Collins and defensive end Randy Gregory as a trio of players gone from Dallas because they made decisions that led to missed games. And here's what Jerry Jones had to say. We lost really highly profile players. Those players were in the top 10 of our players that make the most money. When you get into that spot, I can tell you your standards go up. The bar goes higher. Your conduct is higher. Your attention to the team is higher. Not
Really,
just your own performance, but everything. And when you have as much money as I do, you can knock women up who you meet behind an airline counter and deny that it's your child. Because the more money you have, the less accountability you have. However, the thing that's ridiculous is the other guys, Lyle Collins and Gregory, were violating the NFL substance abuse policy. And that's why they missed the games. And he just lumps Amari Cooper in. Well, a couple of fucking substance abuse people. You gotta love Dallas. You wonder why Dallas isn't winning when they need to. And I read out of the corner of my eye, it's like Dak Prescott said, this is going to be the year.
Typical Cowboys every year.
Every year, it's the same damn story. But I thought that right when you thought you've heard everything, And then Josh Rosen's great quote, I'm very excited, Rosen said. This is a really good football team with some awesome, smart coaches. I've just been living in the facility trying to catch up, run the offense, and figure out my role.
Space filler, like a seat filler, like at the Oscars.
I mean, you should look at his face now compared to when he came out of college. He has sunken eyes. You know what he kind of looks like? He looks like one of the extras from Midnight Express who is in the prison. I can't, this is a story. I thought he said that if he wasn't going to make it in football, he had plenty of things he can do. Why isn't he doing them? Don't waste my time. This is the last opportunity, and it's not even really an opportunity because Dobbs will have to, something radical would have to happen. Like a whole full year suspension for Watson and Jacoby Brissett to go down, and then they would have to call Rosen after he's been cut, which is they're going to cut him before that would ever happen. So, and bring him in just because he has some experience, and poor Joshua Dobbs and his 17 NFL passes,
How about AJ McCarron, though? You said it when we signed Rosen. That poor guy, we just keep dodging him and dodging him.
Yeah. The other story that just blew my mind, you want to talk about an absolute gaffe. The Arizona Cardinals have removed the independent study clause from Kyler Murray's $230.5 million contract. It turned out that in the contract that Kyler Murray signed, it said that he needed to watch film 4 hours every day. Was that what it was? Let me get it exactly right. But let me see. The clause required him to study game material for 4 hours per week on his own to receive credit. Murray couldn't study while he was distracted by the television, the internet, or video games, the addendum said. If Murray failed to meet the criteria, he was at risk in being in default of his contract.
Boy,
Now,
these Oklahoma quarterbacks, they love their halo, don't they?
The thing that I don't understand is why did he sign it? He had to have attorneys who could have stricken that. But then the next question is, who in the hell leaked it? Because once that got out, it was like, well, he's lazy. What they're basically saying is that Kyler Murray is lazy and he doesn't do his homework. And that's, I think, what he took exception to. And so he started talking to the press about this and saying, look, I'm 5'10". Here I am. I played at Oklahoma, and there I was. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. You trying to tell me that you think that I don't work hard at what I do? He said, that's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to think that I don't prepare. He didn't say he wanted it stricken and he had signed the contract, but then realizing that they were up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, the Cardinals chose to remove the clause from the contract. But the damage is done. The damage is done. And if he does not do well, you know what will be said. And even Mahomes in Kansas City said, is it that black quarterbacks are being held to a different standard here? What is the deal? Because there was one guy who was a defensive coordinator in the NFL who insisted that the way you stop Mahomes is to take away his first option, as if he wasn't able to read anything beyond that. Now, if that were true, don't you think it would have shown itself by now? I remember him scrambling out of the pocket and doing all kinds of things and finding people all over the field, contorting his body, throwing sidearm, doing whatever, and getting the ball to his receivers. I don't think that even there's any credence to somebody saying something like that. But it's bizarre. And we will find out, Kyler Murray at $230.5 million, he better play like it, because that could become the undoing of anyone, those kind of big numbers. But I thought that was just the worst, the absolute worst public relations thing that the Cardinals could have done. Really stupid.
Oh, you talk about crazy. How about the number that he did get? I mean, that's
It's insane.
I think Kyler's a very good quarterback, but to be paid that much, I mean, eesh.
It's a leap of faith. There ain't no question about that. And talking about money, Los Angeles Angels Shohei Ohtani, the amazing pitcher hitter who appeared in the All-Star game as both a pitcher and a hitter, right? They asked him about his future. Now, the Angels are bad. They're not a good baseball team, but he is a wunderkind. I mean, not since Babe Ruth did we see somebody who could pitch and hit at the major league level and be successful at both. So when they asked him, what's your future? He says, right now, I'm an Angel. It's like, are those pinstripes under your shirt? You know that he's going to end up in New York. You know.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're on one coast, I mean, you remember in Seattle, who is the great Japanese hitter? Why am I blanking?
Ichiro,
right. I mean, there is a huge Asian population in the greater Seattle area, and but
the West Coast in general, really.
That's right. So you're looking at either the West Coast or the East Coast, and if he wants out of Los Angeles and the Dodgers aren't in play, you know that the Yankees with the short right field porch and all that, he's as good as gone. Why don't they just let him go? I hate baseball. I really do. I hate that fucking game. And I want to say something else, because I do follow the Guardians. It's not like I'm jumping up and down and saying, oh, that's my team. But I mean, they're hanging in there. They're 2 games out. They're in a division that nobody seems to want to win. Well, they're in the big 3-way race with the Twins, who are hot, cold. Then the Guardians, who are hot, cold. And then somehow the White Sox are still hanging around, even though their manager is senile. And I don't know if you've been watching Tony La Russa, but he's been doing some mighty strange things.
He's
think
just
somebody-
batshit crazy at this point.
Yeah. I think somebody ought to take a long look at him. Strange shit. I'm not trying to be mean about it. He was a great manager, but I don't know.
If he was a football player, you'd be claiming CTE at this point. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, there are some.
He has just gone off the deep end.
I mean, the one thing he did where he had 2 strikes on a hitter and then he intentionally walked him. It was in an 0-2 count. He made the pitcher walk him, and then the next batter hits a 2-run homer. They lose the game.
The guards are kind of fun to watch. They got a few guys that can do stuff. I don't think they got enough to put it all together. They're never going to have the budget to do it. But I love Josh Naylor the other day. It's like, he's got to hit a home run because he cannot make it around the bases otherwise.
Right now, he's playing hurt, man.
His back is just, you can tell. Yeah,
his back is just messed up.
But I mean, Rosario and Josie out there on the left side of the infield, just freaking, gosh, man, it's fun to watch these guys.
And Jimenez is having a great season.
It's just Miles Straw, that's where balls go to die out in center field. I mean,
he's a great defensive guy. Although 219 average is not, you really wonder. He was a better average hitter in Houston than he's been in Cleveland. But I guess
we didn't have anybody that could actually even field in center field for how long.
No, that's true.
And they finally got somebody that can. So, that part of it is nice. Nolan Jones is a nice story. Tristan McKenzie had a great July, except for the last few innings yesterday.
Well, anybody. He hung a slider. The guy guessed right. It leaves the park.
He got him.
A three-run dinger.
I mean, going into last night, he had 3 starts and a 0.34 ERA in July.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I'll take 1 bad outing out of 4. And it really wasn't bad. They still were in the game.
Well, the thing is, Franimal Reyes gotta go. You cannot have a man who runs like a moving van. Did you see him try to slide?
That was interesting. The other part I was going to bring up when you get done with Franmil was the bunting in the entire series up there. Nobody for either of those teams could bunt except when Hedges put it out of the park. He tried to bunt.
Dude, I thought that was fake.
I
saw that on Twitter. I thought it was fake.
No, I mean, nobody could bunt for crap. Nobody knows.
It's a lost art.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I don't know how many times people will say, "Oh, let's go ahead and bunt." So what they do, they either pop it up to an infielder, or the one play where Ramirez got it and end up throwing out what's his name, Jeter, at second base, who's got some speed. Man, that guy can fly. Good gosh.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. When I saw Reyes tried to slide and he did it on his knees, I think that'll pretty well tell you that he's never slid in his life. And he is a 219 hitting power hitter who's striking out on average 92 mile an hour fastballs. He's pulling off everything. And he is a non-motivated player who never got himself in the proper condition to even vie to play out in right field because he's lazy. And they got a guy right now in AAA at Columbus named Will Brennan. All right. He's 24 years old.
Right down the street from me, baby.
Yep. Now, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm looking at this team and I'm saying you got Stephen Kwan, who has really good hand-eye coordination. He's hitting a 291 right now. He doesn't drive in a ton of runs. He gets on base. He beats out infield singles. He slaps the ball the opposite way, but he's a real nice leadoff hitter. And with the exception of trying to figure out how in the hell the ball bounces off the green monster, he's done a really great job in left field. So you have him. You've got Rosario, who likes to go opposite field and hit behind runners so that he can get first and third situations. He's hitting around a 280, 286, somewhere in that range. You've got Hosey, who can hit the ball out of the park at any given time and is pitched around. You've gotten Nolan Jones, who's off to a good start, hitting over 300. Whether it stays or not, he's popped a couple of home runs, but they have cut down on his swing so that he doesn't strike out as much.
Yeah, because he used to do that a lot here. So
yes, but in for a penny, in for a pound. We got Josh Naylor, who's unfortunately very overweight, and I wish he would work harder at this. And I don't know if you saw the video footage of his family, but he comes from large people too. I mean, I'm not saying that because I do too. I mean, but he's getting bigger and bigger, and he's going to need to stay in condition. But he lets the ball get in to the zone, and he can go opposite field. He doesn't try to hammer and pull everything for power. He's got 14 home runs this year.
The one he had the other night over the monster, he just kind of slapped at it, and
that's it. He went with what the pitcher threw him, and he just went with it, and it just jumped off his bat. He's got good hand-eye coordination. And I'm looking at all these players, and then you got Jimenez. It's the same thing. He's hitting a 306. And these guys, unlike previous generations of Cleveland baseball players, don't strike out constantly. Will Brennan is in Columbus, and the guy is hitting a solid 325, 8 home runs, but get this, 80 runs batted in. And you don't have a power hitter. Hosey is not really a power hitter, and you don't really want him to be, because you'd rather, it's kind of like what's happened to Francisco Lindor. A 238 hitting Francisco Lindor, I don't care how many ribbies he's gotten and that he got 16 home runs. He was hitting 300 before, It's a... you can drive in runs, and the way this team is built to drive in runs is it takes a few base hits. We don't have anybody who's just going to go up and just drive the ball over the wall consistently. So why not get rid of Reyes? He's a lost cause. He can't play the outfield. He can't do anything else. He's striking out way too much. He doesn't fit in to what this team is, which is a contact-first team. And here's Will Brennan, who has one of the lowest strikeout rates in the minor leagues. And he sets up beautifully at the bottom of your order, and you let him play in right field. And when you get men on base, he'll drive them in, just like kind of Kwan gets on base. He'll be the other bookend, a guy who just gets his bat on the ball. He does not have a lot of power, but nobody does on this team. If this team is going to win, it's going to have to come from starting pitching, and that's going to be tough because right now, we're missing one of the guys, and still the jury is out in full season from people like Cal Quantrill. We really don't know what they're going to be able to deliver on a full year basis.
So you're saying we're well beyond the sacrificing of a live chicken at this point. Is that what?
Exactly. There is no bringing him back, and I'd like to see him gone. And I'd like to see Brennan, who's moved up. This year, he's been in AA and AAA. The thing I like is that he's the same player. In AA, he was hitting a 306, and he's hitting a 325 he's about 330 in Columbus. he's doing the same things at each level. He's getting his bat on the ball, and he finds open spaces to hit it in. And that's the guy we need. He was a overall round 8 draft pick in 2019. So he's moved on up. Give him a chance. What the hell? So that'll be another guy who makes his debut. I hope it happens. It comes to pass. I hope they trade Reyes. He's of very little value. I could go on and go on and go on, but I've passed 7 o'clock at 7:06. So I sure had fun. Yeah, DG is going, are we talking about another Guardian? The whole thing is in the middle of a rebuild. They're very young. The fact is their best players are young guys. And that's why bring up the young guy. Reyes is already 28. This is what he's going to be. He's a guy, if he can make contact, if you could get into his head and say, you don't have to pull everything. You can go opposite field and hit him out that way. He's so strong, but he won't listen. He just won't listen. So whatever. He turns off the ball. His head is a bobbling up and down. It's just out of whack. Give me some more young guys who are hungry to be in the league, who play the game the right way, and which is the way other guys are playing the game. All credit due. Clase is better as a closer than I would ever have thought. He's gotten his head together. That's really good. I'm not so sure Karinchak, I know he's back, but boy, he's unstable emotionally. He's way, I don't know.
Karinchak, Brian Shaw. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah, well, Brian Shaw said he wants to continue starting games, and I said, well, that's the only way you're going to stay in the league. A back end 36-year-old. He's no longer a setup man in this bullpen. But Karinchak, who would be the setup man, the other day he was on the mound, and if something didn't go his way, you could hear after the inning, the microphone picked up him screaming "fuck" at the top of his lungs. It's like, this guy's an anger management problem, and don't let him get anywhere near Trevor Bauer's girlfriend, for God's sakes.
You think that's problems? The other day, me and my buddies had a space where for probably about an hour and a half, we just did the Ric Flair woo over and over again, just because we're idiots.
Why would he want to go back into the ring at 73? What's wrong?
Because he wants to commit suicide in a way that he has to not do it himself. So it's ridiculous.
And the thing is that he has threatened to do jumping off the top rope kinds of things, out onto the floor kinds of things.
Well, if you see him practicing, even his practicing is like, come on, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, you got death wish. And, I don't think in the heat of performance that they can stop him from doing that.
No, he's crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy is right. So, I don't know. Even his daughter is very, very concerned, and they shouldn't be letting this happen. But at any rate, I digress. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Jim, thank you. Brett, as always, thank you. Derek, as always, thank you. To the viewers, thank you. And, we'll wait and see next week and see if we get any kind of decision.
The Jeopardy theme song.
Yeah, we'll be waiting. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Ooh.